Hello everyone. We are here today to hunt one of the most elusive game in the game. The Hoverstone. I've decided to give it a fighting chance to escape. I have attached it with 12 fans. These fans will give just enough force for it to escape if it wants to. But does it want to? Let's find out. Alright, Hoverstone. Do you want to make your escape, or do you want to stay where you are? Well, it would appear the Hoverstone wants to stay where it is right now, but let's see what happens if we startle it. What if we try to grab it with Ultra Hand? Oh, no, it doesn't like that. The Hoverstone has decided to get away. Very, very slowly. Let's try that again. Let's see what else might startle the Hoverstone. Okay, you have your chance to get away, but right now, it's deciding not to. What else might startle it? What if we try to take its picture? Oh, no, it's a bit camera shy. It's trying to get away, though right now, it's actually going to give us a better picture, but I will spare it that indignity. Okay, back you go. What else can we do? Will it try to sneak away if we turn our back to it? Let's see. Oh, not this time. What about if we open up the map? I'm gonna open up the map the way nobody ever opens the map. Oh, no, not afraid of the map. Are you afraid of the menu? What if I jump? What if I jump on you? Oh, you're not afraid of that. What if I use auto build to try to build something? No, you're not afraid of auto build. You're a bit brave. Are you afraid of amiibo? Oh, no. Not a fan of amiibo. Alright. Let's see what else. What about recall? Let's see. You don't seem to be afraid of anything if I just recall without actually triggering it. What if I recall you? Yeah, you don't like that. What if I recall something else, however? What if I recall a random fan in the room? Nope, you're fine with that. So you're okay with other people getting recalled as long as it isn't you. Interesting. What if I try to fuse you? Oh, you definitely don't like that. Okay. So, at this point, you're probably wondering what is going on. Why do Hoverstones seem to get startled in this way? Well, obviously it's a bug of some sort. A very fun bug. But it is a bug, but it's actually interesting why it works this way. So first, let me just do a couple demonstrations. So I've attached this Hoverstone with exactly 11 fans pointed downwards right now, and we'll see if that's enough force to get it to move upwards. Okay, so this is, yeah, it's a bit tricky to measure it. I did 12 just for symmetry, but 11 seems to be enough. But if you trigger it on the ground, it doesn't do much. What about 10? Let's just try it with 10. Okay, not moving there, but again. What if we startle it? Oh, yep, it's going up now. Let's see if we can figure out the minimum necessary to get it to ascend. Let's try 8. And, of course, I give it a bit of a chance. No, not 8. Okay, what about 9? Startle it with fuse. Come on, you don't want me to fuse you. Oh, what if we give it a little boost? No. Okay. 10 seems to be the minimum necessary to raise a hoverstone, at least sometimes. Its weird behavior of sometimes being startled does make it a bit tricky to test, but yes, this is the minimum. But even a bit more than that won't necessarily raise it unless it's startled. But if you do enough more than that, it does get more consistent, I've found. So, let's go up. That's 12 right there. We saw that 12 showed the same startling behavior. Let's try 13. Okay. Yep, 13. It raises on its own. Let's just test again for replication. Yeah. So, 10 to 12 seems to be the window where it shows this odd behavior. So, what's going on here? Why do hoverstones do this? Well, let's talk about hoverstones and fans separately for a bit to come to an idea. So, a hoverstone, when activated, hovers. It just wants to stay in the same place, and you can apply quite a bit of force to it and not move it. Oh, lost my fans. They'll be back soon. Yep, see, they can't bear to be away from me. Now, let's apply the same force pointed up. Or that is, pushing the hoverstone down. So, right now, it's not quite enough to bring it down, but we give it a nudge, and it is. So, slowly falling with 6, but let's put Link underneath it. We will support it with his delicate, delicate skull. Let it come to a rest. Come out. Oh, it's moving again. So, it was paused for a bit. But it came to... yeah. Sometimes when it comes to a stop, it gets stuck. Sometimes it doesn't. So here, we will walk Link out. Yes. Yep, we've got it balanced again. So it's at 6, and we'll see if it startles again. Camera? Oh, nope, it's a bit brave today. For my testing, fuse always works for whatever reason. So, I'll point one thing out here. So, in order to get the hoverstone to move down, we needed to use the force of 6 fans. To move it up, we needed to use the force of 10 fans. Now, if you think about it a bit, this isn't too surprising, as fans do have their own weight, and just the weight of the fans on their own is going to push down the stone. Now, if you do some calculations, do some testing, it turns out that it takes a weight of around 5,000 units of mass to move a hoverstone down, and about the same to move it horizontally, accounting for the weight. It's actually less than that to move it vertically. Fans apply enough force to lift about 645 units of mass, but if you do the math and compare it, it actually turns out that when you're weighing it down, you need a total force of weight plus force of about 5,000, but if you're trying to move it up, the total force, which is now force minus weight, ends up only being about 3,500 or so. So, for whatever reason, hoverstones are easier to move up than down. But that doesn't explain why they show this odd behavior. So we have to speculate a bit there. And the first observation that helps us figure it out is that they only seem to do this when they are pretty close to the threshold force needed to move them. So, 12 fans pushing down is just at the threshold. If we add Oh, yeah, as soon as we activated Ultra Hand, it started moving. But if we add a 13th fan to it, if it's like before, it'll start moving immediately. Yeah, that one did take a bit. Let's try that again, see how consistent it is. I won't touch anything on the controller. Oh, yeah. 13. Oh, moving the camera. Just moving the camera did it this time. Alright, let's try 14. Just even as I'm trying to show this off to you, we're getting less consistency. So, 14 doesn't move. Oh, it looked like it was up a bit. Yeah. Okay, this time it did. Yeah, so 14 is moving now, but wasn't before. And isn't now. Both of these times, I'm not pressing anything on the controller. All I'm changing is how many fans are in view of the camera when I start it. And moving the camera seems to have some effect on whether or not this bug gets triggered. So let's try a couple extremes. We'll do one extreme close-up, as few fans in view as possible. Does the effect trigger? Well, you can see it stuttering around, but we're not moving. What if we scroll out to see all of the fans? Do we get motion? Oh, yep, it is coming up now. Okay. Now, what if we do it again while looking at all of the fans? All fans in view. Is it moving up? Yes, it is. It took a second, but it did. Let's see if that's consistent. Do another close-up. Does it stay still? No, it's going off this time. What if we can't see anything? Well, we're not going to be able to judge without looking back, and sometimes... Oh, nothing moved that time. So, moving the in-game camera does have an effect on this. So, what's going on here? Well, one thing I've noticed that has a bit of an effect of this. Watch if I trigger a fan just on its own. And it's easiest to see this if it's lying face down. So when you trigger a fan on its own, it takes a moment, a second or so, to get up to maximum force. It starts off not applying any force, and then ramps up to full force. So when we first trigger fans that are attached to this hover stone, they aren't applying any force. So it's expected... Oh, lost the connection there. So it's expected that initially there wouldn't be any motion. Now, let's think like a game designer. You've got this game with a ridiculously complicated physics engine, and you're running it on the Nintendo Switch, which power-wise is approximately 2 generations behind the Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5. So it is very underpowered. You're going to have to work like hell to optimize. Fortunately, Nintendo and Monolith Soft, part of Nintendo who helped work on this game, have some of the best Switch optimizers in the world, if not the best. So they're going to pull out every trick in the book to optimize things so that it runs as smoothly as possible on this underpowered system. And one way they can optimize things is by turning the physics simulation off if it's not needed. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying this is 100% what is happening. I'm saying this is what might be happening. So here's my guess as to what's going on. What happens is, right now, the hoverstone and fans are in contact with the ground. They're resting on the ground. The physics system tells us, okay, you're under the effects of gravity, it's pulling you down, but the ground is blocking it. You don't need to check that every instant. You're not going to move. We'll just put a flag on your file to say you're not likely to move. And then if anything happens to cause us to reassess that, we'll look at the forces on you again and move you if necessary. And so changes like turning something on, applying an external force to it, will cause it to reassess that. So what happens when we turn it on? So it reassesses first when we turn it on, but fans have this short ramp-up time where they're applying very little force. So in that time, it looks at it and says, okay, yeah, no, still not enough force to lift you up. We're going to say you're not likely to move. And so it doesn't move until something in the game says reassess that. And the ramp up of fans alone, for whatever reason, isn't set to reassess that. But as we go around, if we turn the camera enough that something goes out of sight, that might. If we apply another force to it, that might. This time I won't be able to do that because the out of sight alone triggered it. But let me try it again by just blowing on it sideways and see if another force is enough to trigger it, which I suspect will be. So we'll keep that in sight. Turning on Ultra Hand. Oh, just turning on Ultra Hand was enough to trigger it, but only briefly. That's interesting. Oh, it got stuck again, and now it's going off. So, something interesting is going on there. Okay. Okay. What if we blow on you? Does that trigger it? Kind of, but moving on its own does. It's very hard to test. So, I'm gonna do an impromptu experiment here. Take out a stake and a big wheel. Meant to only get one. We're gonna set up a fan on a wheel that will only blow in the one direction periodically. It might be going a bit too fast for us, but we can see about weighing it down or something. And we're gonna test if the fan blowing on it will be enough to trigger it. So, okay. We'll bring this close, and then just after the fan passes, we'll trigger it and see if when the fan comes back, that nudges it. Yeah, gotta get closer. Yeah, it does seem to be going off. Let's try that again. Yep. Okay, one more try. Yep, so this does seem to get it going. Let's test it again. Does it go anyway? Oh, it's going anyway from this view. What about over here? Okay, let's refine our test a little. We know that this works with as few as 10, so 10 is going to be the hardest to get going. So, let's try it like this. This should be the least likely to get going anyway. Okay. And then test that it does go up if we turn on fuse. Yes, it does. Okay. So, we're in the region a bit more stubborn. Now let's try it with the spinning fan. Okay, so the force from that doesn't seem to be causing it to reassess things. It might be determining, no, that's not enough force to move it. Or our hypothesis might be wrong. And test if we do fuse again, yeah, it does still go up. So, I'm not entirely certain about this hypothesis. Let me try one more thing. Let's do a fan at an angle. if the fan is at a diagonal angle here, it's going to apply some upward force when the stream crosses, even if it's just hitting another of those fans. Maybe the fact that there's force upwards will be enough to trigger it. So, on its own, nothing. If I turn this on... Okay. Yes, it is getting it to move now. Okay. Let's try that again for replication's sake. This is weird and buggy, so we want to be as sure as possible. So we'll start off with the spinning fan on. Okay. Yeah, and it does seem to react once we put force on it. So maybe the horizontal force isn't enough to overcome friction, it doesn't turn on the simulation. But when we have this bit of extra vertical force, it reminds it, oh yes, the vertical force is enough to get going up. So one more time for consistency's sake, and let's put it just barely at the edge of the stream. You can see a little bit of wobble. Okay. Oh. Yeah, we're seeing wobble when it hits, but that's not causing it to go up. But when we turn on fuse, it is. So, I'm not sure if this hypothesis is right, but I welcome input from anybody who might have a better idea of what's going on here. This is the most solid hypothesis, even though it doesn't seem to fit with quite everything we see. I just want to try one more thing. What if we attach the hoverstone at the top? Is there anything different here? Because if we have it at the top, we could have the fan below so that the stream will actually touch the hoverstone itself. So let's try it again. Okay. Okay, it is taking off after a bit. Yeah, it takes longer than you think it should, but it does go off. And let's just test that. We still see that bug. Oh. Is it going off on its own now? Yeah, it does seem to be going off. This might provide us insight in another way, because it could be that what's going on is that the physics engine turns off or does some optimization specifically for things resting on the ground. And when the hoverstone isn't resting on the ground, it never does that optimization. It would only do it for the bottom two fans. So that might be a bit more insight. Let's connect it up close to the ground at just like one fan off. See how this works. Well, this time it's not going off. Okay. But, yeah, fuse does trigger it. So, confusing even more. Yeah, every time I think I have a guess of how this works, it doesn't follow my predictions. Oh. Yeah, you don't want to stay put. The ground here is a little bit unstable. Okay, let's try it with the spinning fan again. Yep, does go up that time. Let's try again right at the edge of the stream. Okay, that's intersecting a little. And it does go up after it hits. And if I turn this off, do we see the same effect? Does it go off anyway? No, not going off, but fuse does scare it. Okay. Well, I think that's about all I can think of to do experimentally with this. This is certainly an odd effect, and maybe it'll be useful for something. I think you can also potentially do this in other directions. It might take a bit of playing around. Like, you might be able to do one that falls vertically too, if you get the numbers just right. So, no, 5 fans won't do it. I think we tested before, but I seem to recall it did work in the past. So, add a 6th. Oh. Oh, of course, it's going in the wrong direction, that's why. Let's flip this whole thing over. And it does go down. Let's rest it on Link's head and see if we can gently stop it. Okay. Oh, yeah, we are doing something here. So it comes to rest on Link's head. Oh, pushes him off. I think there is a point at which it just stops. So right now, if we leave this for a bit, it doesn't seem to be doing anything. But if we trigger fuse, well, maybe that's just Link moving his head, which triggers it. Now, one other thing I think in the past might have triggered it is if, or rather triggered the bug, is if you attach a fan which is initially off to a hover stone which is on. Oh. Okay, wasn't expecting it to go off at an angle. Let's try that again. Because this should have the same things going on. That fan has to ramp up. And actually, it was very interesting what happened there for another reason. That the hover stone shouldn't be tilting like that. It should be staying in place, even when we attach something to it. So, that's another quirk here. Okay, turn this one off. And let's attach it to the tower this time. Okay, yes. We have indeed successfully triggered the bug, it looks like. And if we fuse, it starts coming down. Okay, so this is a way you can trigger it to happen vertically with only 6 fans. And just because I'm interested, let's try attaching to the stone itself again. Alright. So we attach to the stone now. Briefly, the hover stone turns off, is what happens, I think. Okay. So, let's go over what we've learned here. The ways to trigger this bug. The easiest way to trigger it is with 10 to 14 fans attached to a hover stone resting on the ground. All of the fans facing down. Trigger it by activating it, and then the hover stone gets startled when one of many things happens. Fuse seems to be the most reliable, though this is actually the first time that hasn't worked. Oh, there we go. Now it takes off. Okay. So, 10 to 14 fans seem to work for trying to move it up. If you want to move it down, it's a bit trickier. You have to attach 5 fans to the stone, put it in the air. It will be stationary now because 5 fans isn't enough. Take a fan, unactivated. Don't attach it to the stone directly, as that deactivates the stone, but attach it to the other fans. Oh, sorry. upside down here, it's supposed to be like that. So, we'll do the same thing again. Attach a fan. Attach a fan that's not already active to one of the other fans. And here you have it. The fans should be pushing the hoverstone down, but they aren't. And if you want to trigger it, you activate fuse. How is this useful? Up to you to figure out. Maybe you can use it as like a remote trigger for some device. Yep, I'll leave it to you for all of the creative stuff. So, anyways, I hope you've enjoyed, or have some ideas come to mind about how to use this. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching. I will see you all later. Bye-bye. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, subscribe, and click the bell to be sure you get notifications of new uploads. See you again soon.